Go to PressBoxOnline.com and register a youth team in your community for a chance to be highlighted as the PressBox Youth Team of the Month, sponsored by Sports Authority. Go to PressBoxOnline.com for all the details. And welcome back to Inside PressBox. Before the break, Jim Henneman and I were talking about the Orioles in the ballpark, and now in this segment, I want to turn and talk a little bit, Jim, about the ball club. Dan Duquette, Jim's cousin, the new general manager of the Baltimore Orioles, or vice president of baseball operations, whatever they want to call him.
They call him everything but GM.
Exactly.
Now. I don't understand
exactly.
that.
He said that his first goal is to finish at 500, and I know you've referenced that a couple times.
And my first reaction to that was he's got a better chance of being at 500 than he does out of getting out of last place, which is not terribly encouraging. I do think that they're going to be better. But one thing I promised myself this year that I would not say that the bullpen was going to be better, because I've said that for the last 4 years and been wrong 4 years in a row. So I'm not saying that anymore until I can say it in the past tense. So even though it might look that way.
All right. The starting pitching, you were down in Florida for a good chunk of spring training, most of it as a matter of fact. I noticed that they gave up a lot less home runs. Buck Showalter dismissed that as the wind currents and all that, but it was significant. Do you think they will pitch better as a starting staff?
I think so, because from the little bit that I've seen of him, I have a lot of confidence in Hunter, although I think Hunter will throw some home runs.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of confidence in his innings. I don't know a whole lot about Hamill, but there's some hope there. You know, Chen, Wada are unknowns. So I think there's still a lot of questions there. But I've liked Arrieta from day one. I think he's got a good makeup about him, and I think he's going to be. I think he's going to be a tough gamer down the road. They need the Britain thing has hurt him. I mean, having Britain, that's a step back, I think.
So tell me about the other two guys. One on the major league roster currently, which is Brian Mattis, and the guy who I know we both think made some strides this spring a lot was Chris Tillman. It's his time to dominate at AAA and force the issue, isn't it, Jim?
He's my behind-the-scenes nominee for a breakout guy.
Yeah.
I mean, might not be up here, but I think the time has come for him that he needs to do something. He did not pitch his way off this team. I mean, in all honesty, people say every year they're going to go north with the best 25 guys. Very rarely does that happen. Mm-hmm. I don't think it happened this time, because it's just the way those things break out. But I think that before the month of April is over, certainly by the middle of May, I think it'll be pretty close to being where they are. Whether Tillman's one of those guys or not, I don't know. We don't know whether Chen and Wada are going to be able to be two of those five guys.
Exactly.
And I still think that's a big step. We really don't know that.
And I agree with you. I think given a good 5 or 6 weeks at Norfolk, if he forces the issue, they're going to say, this guy's better than Hamill, Wada, or Chen, most likely. But how about Mattis? Historically bad 2011 season. What do you see in him? What do you see in his eyes?
I'm not going to try to read his eyes, because I think that's unfair. But, you know, I can't say he was better this year than he was a year ago, because he was okay a year ago.
Yeah.
Nobody had any complaints when they broke camp a year ago until he got hurt the very last minute. Was he the guy that was 7-1 in 2010? Or was he the guy that was horrible last year? I can't answer that question. But I do think that we don't know whether either of the other two guys is better than he is. So that's the problem thing to me. I mean, we can't be stifling the younger guys because we have newer guys. So I think Wada, there's a lot to be said. I think the game plan for Mattis going into spring training was to start the season in AAA. And I think he'd have to pitch lights out for that not to happen, and for Wada not to take his place somewhere down. I still think that's probably the game plan.
All right. Got to ask you one quick question here, and this is a longer-term question, and we only have a little over a minute. We're watching Joey Votto sign a long-term contract. The Royals seem to sign all their young players to contracts. We're seeing extensions galore. The Orioles haven't extended anybody in quite a while since Nick Markakis. Don't you think it's high time that they look into extending Adam Jones?
Well, yeah, but I also have to qualify that by saying Adam Jones does not have Joey Votto's numbers. I mean, we don't have a Joey Votto type player here right now, and I love Adam Jones.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. And I think, but there's 2 years and 2 years we have to go with him. I would think that before this year's over, they're going to be talking about that. By the end of the year, I think a bigger question is, how about the manager?
Yeah. All right.
He's got the same amount of time left as the center fielder does.
Fair enough. The only thing I say is by delaying, they're letting that price tag potentially get to astronomical
I think
dollars.
they're hoping for that. I think they're hoping for that.
All right. Jim Henneman, he's one of the best in the business. You can stay tuned, and we're going to wrap things up with a quick commentary when we return right after these words. Inside PressBox is presented by Friedmont Mortgage. Don't make a 30-year mistake by choosing the wrong lender. Go to Friedmont.com now for all of your mortgage needs.